Welcome to Question Everything, where we question everything because you should too. Today, we have Brian Heilig. Am I saying this right, Brian Heilig?
It's Heilig.
Heilig. That extra I, man.
It's all good.
Who him and his wife Diana had to deliver their first baby at 26 weeks due to severe preeclampsia while living in Cancun, Mexico. Grayson was only 12 inches long and weighed 1.6 pounds. Pregnancy is 40 weeks. 26 weeks is severely premature. This is a miracle baby. So little did Brian know that this dramatic event would also birth a joy for writing. And if you stick around to the end, you'll find out why this author here is different from any other author. Brian, I'm going to do my little intro thing, and then we're going to get started, man. And I'm going to share this link so your wife can share it. All right, Brian, I feel like there's not going to be a dry eye in this room today. So
I'll do my best.
Tell us a little bit about this story, this journey. Like, I can't even imagine. My kid, we live in such a privileged place that we don't know what it's like to not have what we see as just basic. So tell us a little bit about this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I want to thank you, Gregory, for having me on and, being able to share the message and the goal and the vision and in hopes to support other people. So I really appreciate you and your platform and your willingness to have me on. We were living in Cancun, Mexico for my job. And part of that stipulation was for, Diana made part of the stipulation for us to try again doing IVF because we tried and we were trying to have kids. It wasn't happening for years. And then we did a round of IVF in the States. Didn't work. We actually became foster parents and we were going to foster to adopt. And we had little baby Eva at 7 days old, and then had to give her back at 5 months, which was just that's a whole nother, interview. But then finally, the opportunity came in Mexico. Diana researched, and we had a friend that was the acupuncturist for an IVF doctor there. And his success rate was extremely high. So Diana said, I'll move to Mexico if we can try one more time. I said, okay, babe, that's on you. Cause guys definitely cannot handle IVF. No doubt about it. So lo and behold, she got pregnant. Phenomenal. We were so excited. We were like 41 at the time. And she was, because of age and so forth and IVF, she was a higher risk pregnancy. So she's pretty much on bed rest the whole time, but doing everything right. Everything was going good, perfect. We were 23 weeks, 24 weeks, 25 weeks, right around the middle of the 25th week is when, it all came unglued. And that's when she had her blood pressure spiked super high. She was vomiting, her legs were swollen, feet were swollen, everything was a mess. And the doctor, deduced that she had developed severe preeclampsia, and we had to deliver the baby to save Diana's life. And she held out for a couple days until literally right at, I think it was 26 weeks and 0 days, they did an emergency C-section and took Grayson. So, yeah. And so now we're in Mexico. It's, I know enough Spanish, Diana knows enough Spanish to be dangerous, but when you get into medical Spanish, it's a whole nother game.
Yeah.
And when you're at that level in the hospitals in Mexico, very few people, if any, speak English. So right. that was another thing that we were dealing with, was the language barrier, not really understanding what was happening.
Powerful. The only way to learn is immersion, but when you have trauma and stress and life or death, that's a new ball game.
Yeah, it was interesting because we had many people there, from the US and there's a very big expat community there, and we were able to have people try to translate for us. But the problem was, even fluent bilingual people they don't understand. I've never been in the NICU, right? This person would say, I don't know NICU terms. I don't know how to translate it. So I hear the words that the doctor's saying, but I can't tell you what's happening because I don't know that word in English. So crazy, and then go ahead.
No, that just, you come into a new company and there's jargon and there's like acronym soup. This is another level. It's like a new language plus jargon in that new language. And then, yeah, wow. Okay, go ahead.
And then the Spanish speaking people couldn't translate the words to English. So it was a complete nightmare. We were in the blind for 3 weeks. And, finally the communication as far as how is Grayson doing was, deduced to thumbs up or thumbs down. Like that's what we had from the NICU doctor. Yeah. I was like, thumbs up. He would go, not so good, like bad day. So really wild. Really wild.
I just felt that in my stomach.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Wow. So, man, how long you said about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How long before, like, I can only imagine, like, our son had a seizure while he was drove into a cliff, and someone called us frantic that he had been in an accident, but there was no more, like, is he alive, is everything okay? And we're driving all the way to Dallas. It's like an hour drive, and my wife is on hold with the doctor, and they just put us on hold. So, like, just 20 to 50 minutes of driving in silence, not knowing whether your child is alive, is a whole different ballgame. I can't imagine, first adopting baby Eva and then having to give her back 5 months later. Like, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
You fall in love and then your heart is ripped out.
Yep, completely.
And then you make it, everything is fine. And then plot twist, let's just go on this roller coaster.
Yeah, totally.
And so 3 weeks, I couldn't deal with 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was, there's more to the story in that for several days after our baby was born, Diana's body started shutting down. So she was actually in the ICU, Grayson's in the NICU, and I'm sitting there going, what do I do? What's happening? So to not be able to have that level of communication as far as really what's happening to the people that I hold most dear to my heart was you just become catatonic. You don't know what day. I think I was up for like 40 hours straight. Just your mind unfortunately sometimes goes to the worst possible thoughts, and to try to cut those out. But sleeping was just not a thing. There's just no way, because you're just constantly worried of what's going on, what's happening. So yeah, it was wild, man. It was nothing that I would ever want anyone to go through.
Wow.
Yeah.
My friend Tara just commented in the comments, you would have loved our previous podcast. He tuned in for that a little bit. I don't know if you saw the 3, 2, 1 reset. 3 deep breaths, hug yourself, like touch your shoulders and hug yourself, and then or touch your shoulders, then hug yourself and hum to yourself. Or like kind of giving yourself the oxytocin, making yourself feel good to kind of reprogram yourself, and like deep belly. I'm sure that could have come in handy then, but
absolutely, I wish I knew that.
Right?
Let me tell everybody. Yeah, I'm in a lot of NICU groups, and I just had a father reach out in a dad's NICU group, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening. My baby was just born, emergency C-section. I have this fear and that fear and this fear. Like, you could just feel his stress, and it's much easier now, 7 years later, to look back and go, it's going to be okay. But to even say those words to someone in it's that's not helpful at all. And so, just to be able to give something like that type of advice would be huge. I mean, it's as simple as it is. That's the furthest thing that you're thinking about in that moment, because we don't take care of ourselves.
Exactly. And I can relate partially to the adoption part on the side of the person giving child for adoption. I just talked about this earlier. About 10 years ago, I was with a lady, and it was not a healthy relationship for us. And so bringing a child into the world would not have been a good idea for us. I didn't want to bring more kids through trauma and all that. And the family, as soon as her mom found out that she was pregnant, she had made the decision, because she knew this family that had tried to adopt a child, and like 8 different times had made it to the delivery room. Like their friends had promised them their child, and then it's born, and nature happens, and so they changed their mind on them. That's immediate. You're talking about 5 months of actually being like, the paperwork I had to sign was brutal. Like I read it and I was like, I don't want to sign. This is not what I'm saying. But
Right.
because of that, like, so that I can't come back 5 months later and be like, I never said that, right?
Amazing.
You
Yeah.
talked a little bit before we started about this ending up this, and we're going to get there. We're unfolding the layers here, but this is starting to become a ministry of sorts, right? We're doing God's work. The moment, like, there was 8 months of struggling, right? Am I doing the right thing? Like, I can make an argument for both sides, and either side would be right. I just have to pick one and be at peace with it. And it was at war inside of myself. There was ambivalence for 8 months. And then I finally came to peace with, okay, I'm going to give him to a good family. They're going to take care of him. And we want to talk about knowing what it feels like to give your only begotten son. Like, this is the closest I can feel that. And like Jesus dying, resurrected, right? It's like my son, even though it's open adoption, feels like he died, but I can still see him growing up.
Wow.
So I can relate, sort of, as far as that feeling of like, what do you do here, right? Like, and I say relate. I don't think your situation is anything that anybody watching this, either past or present, replay, would ever want to be in. Like, like you said, what do you say to someone in that moment? What do you say to comfort someone, or to, when the uncertainty is just like,
Yeah.
you said, it made you catatonic.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I said things that I didn't know what I was saying. And, if any type of advice for someone that's going through this NICU experience, I say that all of our exact NICU paths are different, but we're bound together by the NICU. And so there's things that some people, you just need to listen. Like, they don't offer any advice, they just need to be heard, and listen, just to understand, not to respond. And you can't understand, and you can't relate, even if it's my baby's in the NICU and your baby's in the NICU. My baby was born at 26 weeks. Your baby was born at 26 weeks. There's so many little different nuances, brain bleeds, retinopathy, lung issues that could be different. And so I don't know what that's like. I just know that we're in this thing and we're in it together, and, give me a hug. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes where I'm like, I need the advice. I want the advice, but I don't even know what advice I need or want. It's a wild time. And to be able to do that now, to go through that in Mexico, where you just can't get any feedback from anybody, it was just where I had to turn. And I'll never forget, I was in what we'll call kind of the chapel, if you will. But it was this room in the hospital that was very softly lit. And the windows were kind of frosted, but the light from the sun would come in, and there was flowers. It was very fragrant, and it was kind of sterile but warm in a way. There was white benches, and I'll never forget, I was sat there and I just looked, and on the wall was a picture of Jesus. It was like a rustic wooden frame, and it was Jesus. And I just looked and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Help me. I need you. Like, I have no one else to turn to. So in that moment, I was directed that way. And I had to continually take comfort in that, and really, that this is the story of me on my path of finding God and trusting. And it started with why God, and then it ended up with help me God, and then thank you God.
Wow, that's beautiful. Why? Help. Thank you. That, man, you hear so many stories of people finding God in the darkest of places, right? And you read the Bible and other literature as well, like other spiritual literature, and you see these people that had done horrific things, that had just the worst stories, and the beauty that came from it, right? I mean, if you think about Jesus's lineage, right? Every one of the people leading up to his birth had some major mess ups in life.
Seriously. I'm doing the Bible recap right now. I think we're on day 212 or something. And I'm like, when are we going to get to Jesus? Because I don't think anyone can figure this thing out, man. And can't they look at what's happened before them and figure out what's going on? But it's just human. It's our humanistic side of things. But yeah, man, I'll tell you, there's this quote, and it's in the book, is it said that the walls of the NICU have heard more prayers than most churches. Yeah. And I'll tell you what kind of part of my message is to people is, get with God, get to him, get with him before you need him. Because if I had that for me anyway, personally, I think this experience would have gone with a little bit more peace. But I didn't, and I urge people to get with God before you need him. It's like dig your well before you're thirsty,
Better to be prepared and not need it than just wow. That I'm gonna show that one. Get with God before you need him. Like, not foxhole prayers. I'm talking about maintenance prayer.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Patience, man. And wow.
And that's like that's the only thing that got us, and me anyway. I can't speak for my wife. I can't speak for anything else, but for me anyway, as I was writing the book, I'm looking back at things and going, it's so much easier after to look at how all the dots were connected through God, and being able to trust now, having had other experiences after. It is such an amazing, calming place to be, where, hey, that's not what I wanted to have happen. And then I go, ooh, I can't wait to 3 months from now, 6 months from now, whatever, to look back and go, got it. That's why that happened. It's such a powerful place to come from moving forward.
Yeah, that hindsight brings the understanding, and like, you can't understand the chaos in the chaos, or
Right.
you can't grasp the lesson or the blessing in the chaos, conflict, and confusion. You have to be in a place of peace, and Jesus is the ultimate peace. The Just one thing you said that really resonated was the
Looking back, connecting the dots.
looking back, like, going through it and knowing at some point you're going to be able to look back at this and see that it was for a purpose. How How long between, and I guess this is going to, like, grief when someone's gone is one thing. What is it called when you're going through it, right? They're on that, the on the fence of life and not here anymore. And like, what is that called?
It's called insanity is what it is. You know, like there was definitely absolutely a time uh, in Grayson's early days where it was pretty apparent he was not going to make it, you know,
Mm,
and it was an absolute, that's where it was a fall to your knees, help me God,
yeah,
you know, and it, it, it's so, it's, I remember like we were at a restaurant and I couldn't look at anybody. I couldn't process anything. The food came and it was bland. It was, the noise was just muted. Everything was just, I have no idea what's happening right now. And that's kind of that kind of catatonic state of just, why am I even here? You know, what is happening right now? And luckily you just continue through it, and that's where, you know, I don't want to give away too much because there's a part in the book that's very, very poignant in
mm,
that feeling of total despair, and it's all just for nothing. That switched, and it completely transformed my view and my stress and so forth. So I'll leave that to the readers.
oh man, you're gonna do that to us here? Whoa, okay. I'm gonna drop the link so if they want to order it ahead of time or like start looking ahead, they can do so. Man, that's, I was just about to ask. That was the next question, was how does one, like, what, when you ask that question, right? What now? Like, it makes you question everything. It makes you,
Hey,
pun
no pun
intended,
intended.
pun
Yeah.
intended. Um, it
Yeah.
makes you question everything because, like, what am I here for? What is that? What's that answer? Where, when did, because obviously the book came from that answer, right? This mission you're on came from that answer. So what was that?
So that was interesting because during this whole process, I was reaching out to very close family members. You know, I mean, obviously, I started with my parents and her parents, but then that kind of, that word got spread out a little bit, and then more people started texting me and WhatsApping me and Messenger. You know, to a point where it became overwhelming, and we chose to go live after Diana was, you know, stable. We went live with a dear friend of ours, kind of in this situation where he interviewed us, but it was live on Facebook, and just to update everybody that here's what's happening, you know,
Wow.
and here's what we need, and prayers and all of it. Um, and that's where I could start to connect the dots, because there were NICU nurses from literally all over the world, Australia, California. Even my cousin that I didn't even know was a NICU nurse started the direct messages like, hey, listen, I don't want to step over any lines, but he's not in the best position. How come there's not an incubator? If you could move him to the States, that would be best for his survival. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? We're in the best hospital in Cancun. We have a phenomenal doctor, but I had no concept because nobody puts, you know, a micro preemie birth on your birth plan. You know, you don't research what it should be or shouldn't be. And
Right.
so, you know, when I look back and go, okay, well, he's in a open bed with saran wrap and a heat lamp. That's not normal. I don't, what is normal? And so talk about questioning everything, right? We started to, and ultimately we were able to move him to the States. But in all that, the one live that we did, a friend of ours said, this is too unbelievable to not have, you know, like you should write a book. It's just this incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And in the moment you're like, yeah, right. Okay. I'll get to the book, you know, but there was some kind of seed planted. And for years after Grayson was born, you know, Diana and I were like, you know what? everybody that we've told the story to is like, holy cow, it should be a book. It should be a movie. It should be this. And I was like, you know what? Dang, I think I should probably write this book. But here's the kicker. We're at church on Sunday, which is so interesting because back then my schedule, I worked weekends, but I happened to have the Sunday off, and we go to church, and the pastor said, have you ever asked God what he wants you to do with your life? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's new. I'm always like, what do I want to do? And I want this and I want that. And he goes, let's try it right now. Everybody close your eyes and ask God, what do you want me to do with my life? And Gregory, it was instantaneous. I remember I looked at Diana, I was like in shock. I literally heard, write the book, speak about it, and transform lives. And that next day I wrote the first word, it turned into the first sentence, it turned into the first, paragraph. And there you are. I'm on this path. And now I'm in phase 2, which is speaking about it. Here we are.
Wow. I'm putting that as a banner right now. Have you ever asked, I want people to, if they're watching this on replay, ask God this question. Because after my workshop today, I am absolutely asking him, because I feel like I've asked, but if you can't hear God talking, you have to go back to the last thing he told you to do. And if he told me to do something and I didn't feel like I was up to it or enough, or like, that wasn't me, God, like little old me, right?
Yeah, totally.
Then I got to be reminded, right? It probably was something a lot bigger than I'm doing, because that's what he does. He doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
100%. I mean, I'm not a writer. I can hardly spell, My dad goes, I didn't even know you could read, like what? But listen, like, answer the call, answer the call. And I don't know how it is going to happen. I don't know how it's all going to work out. I just am taking the next steps, and so I have my first speaking event at the end of the month, and I'm preparing my speech for that. And I know that I'll get into big, huge audiences. And the original concept here is to write the book, have people understand the lack of medical care for NICU babies in Mexico, and we want to put proper incubators into Mexican hospitals. We want to call them G units after Grayson. Get a G unit there. Right?
That's perfect.
Right? I just see it. I envision it, like going back to Dr. Campos in Mexico and having Grayson there. And Grayson, he's 7 right now. Imagine him, going up to the doctor, you're going to get me, the doctor that saved his life, and say, gracias. Here's an incubator. Could you imagine? And so babies born at his gestation in Mexico have a very low survival rate. And it's mostly because of the equipment. They just don't have the equipment. So they have the doctors, they're phenomenal, but they're only limited by their technology. And so, in writing the book, that was kind of the overarching goal, because all the net proceeds are going to be going toward putting proper incubators in the Mexican hospitals, creating the G units, But I don't think, based on the book sales so far, it's going to be, we need to sell a lot of books, because these units could be up to $35,000. But I think that now, as I'm going through and I'm in phase 2 of answering the call, speaking about it, I really feel very strong that we're going to have the connections to get this going and the help to put these incubators there. And so that's kind of where we're at on the mission right now.
I get visions as people are talking. It's like God just downloads the entire plan, and I just saw it. So a book is great. A book is a product. A book can be an audio program. A book can be a course. A book can be a mastermind. A book can be a VIP day. A book can be an ultra premium offer. A book can also lead to speaking engagements, podcasts. A book, the root word of authority is author. You've now become an authority on G units. That's I love that. I hope that 50 Cent, like,
I love that.
if you were to reach out to Curtis, is it Curtis Mayfield? No. Is that his name? 50 Cent, his real name?
Oh yeah, Curtis. It is Curtis. I don't know the last name.
Let's just say if you were to reach out to Curtis, he knows who he is, 50 Cent,
Yeah.
and told him that you were naming him, G units and the blessing, right? Because they could argue with that, but they could not. I mean, think about just so the thing I'm seeing is partnerships, right? What you're doing already. It's not the water's fault how much the water costs, it's the environment. If you're not getting the results you want, it's not that you're not doing the right thing. It's not that what you're doing is invaluable. It's that you're in the wrong environment. I feel like God's put me here to be a connector. And that's the idea behind Question Everything is why not, right? Like, people don't talk to other people because we're trained one way most of our lives and we don't ever really break from it. And I found that by talking to everyone, by being curious, by having those curiosity conversations, right? Getting to know someone, not because they have followers, likes, money, or anything. You never know where a hello will take you. You never know where that connection is going to take you. And everything in my life now, two things. One thing you said earlier that, like looking at God piecing the dots together, I call these God kisses.
I love that.
If you take God out of our lives, our life does not make sense. There's no scientific or logical explanation that makes any of it make sense. And if you take God out, it really is like, wait, you did what?
Totally.
So the partnerships, there are people that there are angel investors. If you can get with someone, I'm a designer, I design experiences. I could help you map out this whole journey and also give you some structures for how you're going to tell your speeches from the stage, because having structure really helps. The just mapping it out, having that plan, having that North Star, creating that memory in your brain of the success of this, right? Imagine Grayson, who's 7 or 8 now, right? I was going to ask, but you said it. Man, that's incredible. Miracle child, right? Grayson was born the way he was born so that no other child will ever have to feel that pain again.
Huge.
Yeah, that one got me.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's that. I think that's really, when I say, okay, now I look back. Okay, got it. Because so many things have happened since this event that we've been able to be there for other people, be able to give some kind of comfort, inspire people back to God, just inspire people's faith in humanity. The outpouring that we got was just absolutely insane. It was insane. And what I see as the God kisses, like you call it, it's just so clear. And there's no possible way that any of it could have been orchestrated as perfectly as the way it was orchestrated by a human being. There's no way. There's no possible way. I mean, we were dealing with hurricanes. We were dealing with, minutes to spare to leave. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. And so when you look at it's the first time for me anyway in my life where I don't feel like I have to force anything to happen or make anything happen. I'm literally just gone, listen, I wrote the book, I'm speaking about it, figure out how we're going to get incubators into Mexican hospitals, because right now my brain is not there, but I know that through your people we're going to figure it out. And it's just totally lining up. And it's an amazing place to be with that amount of faith, to just go, hey, where's the next conversation? Where's the next connector? Where's the next stage? I'm going to keep pursuing that instead of always so stressed out and worried about how. It's just a beautiful place to be.
Have you ever heard? Go ahead.
The only other thought I have on that is, this is a two-part thing. It's just coming to me right now. The amount of prayers, money that we got. I mean, that almost gets me more emotional than what happened. Like, just the absolute outpouring of love that we got from everybody. It's hard to put that into a thank you. It's very surreal and just, it's extraordinary. But also knowing that we got that much support to even think about taking a dime of profit from this book is insanity. But the double fold, and this is what just came to me, is there's no pressure whatsoever, because I'm not doing it to try to make money. I'm doing it for a whole bigger purpose. And so that just eliminates all the stress of, do I have 300 sales, 500, 1,000? It just doesn't matter, because I'm just following what I'm supposed to be doing. It's crazy.
You know what? As you say that just came to me. I have always been interested in philanthropy, and just being a vessel
Yeah.
that blessings can pass through. I don't need money, right? Anything over 80,000 a year is excess. Or that's what they said 2 years back, like 5. I want to say it's like anything over 120 now, because
right.
But as long as my wage is going up with inflation and I can survive and do the thing I'm made to do to serve God's people. When you said it's hard to put the gratitude into words, your gratitude speaks service, right? You're serving as that thanks. You're changing your life. You're changing other people's lives, or you're at least aiming to, right? When you said the stress about how, I heard who, not how. It's not about how you're going to do it. It's about who you're going to connect with. That's going to 10x it. That's going to take it to the next level. There are people in this world that need exactly what you have, and they would get it in a heartbeat if only they knew you existed. So I would say even setting up some sort of donation campaign, 501c3, right? Grayson, I don't know, Grayson, something around him, right? Grayson Heilig, the Grayson Heilig Foundation, right? The goal is to get not just NICU incubators, right? It's so much bigger than that. It's proper health care. My granddaughter was born a couple weeks ago. The doctor pulled her out at an angle and like forced it, and it did this thing to her shoulder. I can't remember what my daughter and my ex-wife said it was, but it detached the nerves from her spinal cord. And so like it's going to be hard for her to crawl if it doesn't heal.
Oh my gosh.
It's the path to get to being a doctor and a nurse is so, like, the road is so crowded, but it's also so understaffed, because they take your entire life, right? If more people could get into the field, and more people could be available, doctors wouldn't have to be rushing from one birth to another. And so in her rushing, my granddaughter may have an issue for the rest of her life, potentially, right? And I wonder how many times something as small as like having the right equipment or having more time to care about people, right? Like we say that healthcare is about care, but we all know the truth. I'm not even going to say it. The opposite of what you're doing with your movement.
We'll leave that kind of where it is as far as the healthcare goes. And a lot of it is, what I'm saying is leave the kind of the whole insurance thing there. That's in the book too. You'll see. But I mean, the doctor in Mexico when we got to Miami, they were like, wow, with the equipment that he had, I mean, he literally saved Grayson's life and kept him alive. He was literally just keeping him alive. they said, but now that he's here, he'll thrive. I was like, man, it's just so crazy. Like I showed them pictures in Miami of the equipment and like even like the Jimmy rig things that they made. And the one doctor said, wow, I remember learning about this in school, like the way it was decades ago. And, Dr. Campos, when the mobile team came to get Grayson, was completely freaking out over their mobile equipment, and so could you just imagine if he had a proper incubator? I mean, he knows what to do. He just is, like I said, limited by what he has. So, and it's not, I mean, Cancun is Cancun. I mean, that's a pretty big, not even a big city as an Americanized city. I mean, as you can get, it's an hour and a half from Miami, and it's super Americanized, if you will. And we were at the best hospital that there was. And, we had another friend in Puerto Vallarta, another bigger city, that same exact thing. Her baby was born, her daughter's baby was born, and no incubators.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's big cities, but I mean, Guadalajara, Mexico City, I just don't know if they even have the equipment. So it's definitely a missing, and we're so grateful, so fortunate, so blessed to be able to have had Grayson transferred, because it's a very high chance that he wouldn't have survived if we didn't. He was in Miami another 84 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm losing track of the time here, but I'm
We gotta go.
No. I mean the time from unexpected 25 weeks. Your wife's gonna die, your child's gonna die. I'm stuck in catatonic state. I have no words. I'm staring off into space. I don't know what this is all happening for. And the time just dragged on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. We were 21 days in Mexico, and then 84, so 105 days in the NICU, which was pretty much when he was released would have been his actual due date.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
So when he was released, I know he said 12 inches long and 1.6 pounds when he was released.
No, when he was born.
No, I'm saying when he was released, when he was born, and when he was released, what was he by then?
I mean, Diana knows the exact on that, but I think it was maybe 5 pounds. He was a little guy. Yeah, a little dude. But there's things that you have to go through to be able to be released from the NICU. I like be able to sit in a car seat for a certain amount of time. So we bring the car seat into the hospital, and he has to be able to not have the monitors go off. I'm keeping this real simple, but the monitors can't go off for a certain period of time while he's in the baby seat. And so, I mean, but it was like nothing, when we brought him home. Wow. But yeah, I mean, our second baby was born. He was like 7 pounds born, at 37, I believe, weeks. And it's just the difference between 1.5 pounds and 7.5 pounds in a baby is it's hard to even fathom. I have a side by side of their footprints. It looks like it's just, I'll send it to you. It's crazy. It's like a giant, next to this tiny little, pea of a person. I mean, it's just wild. It looks like an adult foot and an infant foot.
Wow. So
yeah,
there's it obviously created some sort of faith in you to go at this again after all the pain.
No, it was definitely, and we named our second child Nathan, which means gift from God, because all that we went through to have Grayson, 2 rounds of IVF, obviously born as a micro preemie, and all it took to save his life. I mean, there's no way that she can get pregnant. I mean, we tried for like 5 years to get pregnant. IVF, no. Second round of IVF, yes. All of it, right? Wouldn't you know, Diana at one point goes, I mean, I thought she was going through the change, man. Like, I don't know. She was really mean. It was really crazy. She was flying off the handle, having hot flashes, the whole thing. And I'm like, she goes, hey, on the way home, maybe just get a pregnancy test, just, to rule out anything. I'm like, are you crazy? I said, all right, fine, I will. And wouldn't you know it, she got pregnant naturally the second time. Forget about it. It was nuts. And so talk about stress then. I mean, it was like we're in shock.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Diana going, I'm scared to death, and me saying, it's perfect, being scared to death, right? Just to let her know, it's perfect, everything's perfect, freaking out. And I mean, when we hit 25 weeks, it was just like, please, 26 weeks, oh my gosh, 27 weeks, please stay in there. 28, I mean, it was from then on, it was just like any day it could just go crazy. And he ended up actually going into the NICU. God, I'll never forget, we were going toward the NICU in Orlando now, this is where he was born. And I see neonatal intensive care unit, and I lost it, like incontrollable. I didn't really believe in PTSD until after I had Grayson's experience. It's real, man. PTSD hits so hard. It was nuts.
Wow. Dude, like, I'm rarely speechless. I feel like I've had.
That's book number 2. Don't worry about
it. I can't wait to read book number 1. I'm really curious, like, these situations happen and we don't understand them, and then we piece them together and we ask God what he wants us to do with our lives, or what he wants us to do, wants for us. And then we find that all of the pain we've went through was so that someone else doesn't have to. And if we save one, just one, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
One person doesn't have to go through this pain, this agony, this uncertainty, this ambivalence, right? And it was worth every minute of it. But then it strengthens us. Wow, man. I did not know what to expect. I'm going to be honest. Like, I knew there wasn't going to be a dry eye in the room at some point with your story, but just the lesson in faith here, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that have had really, really terrible things happen to them. And like, this is right up there with it, but there's some unspeakables, right?
Yeah.
And like, I want to encourage people, and I want to ask you if you have any words to encourage people, that are going through something, anything, that they're suffering alone. They think that they're going through this pain and there's no way out, there's no solution, there's no purpose for it. Like, some words of encouragement to be that blessing by sharing that story, writing that book. Would you say write the book, speak about it, change lives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not, I'm going to say this, but I want to also create a context around it. It's a responsibility, and not in a bad way. Like, I'm blessed to have this responsibility to be able to, have something amazing come from the darkest hours of our lives. And, I'm grateful and blessed to have been directed toward God and have the courage. Because, like, for me to speak right now the way that I'm speaking, especially about, you got to get with God before you need him and these types of things, is like very new. I was very, should I say, embarrassed or, insecure about that. But it's happening. In other words, this is part of what speaking about it, I guess, is meaning, because I'm getting more and more confidence around that. And I it was at church the other day. I was like, I listened to another pastor's story. I'm like, wow, get with God before you need him. And if I could give anyone that advice, I've read every self-help book there is. I've been to multiple seminars, self-help seminars. And as I'm now reading the Bible all the way through this entire year. It's the Bible recap, right? We're at day 200, I think, in 8, I said, or 9. I'm going, oh, well, that principle was in this book that I read. This whole chapter, this whole book was from that seminar that I took. Wait a minute, that's how that worked. I'm just going, that's the only book you need. How crazy. I mean, it's like, get with God before you need him, and then you understand and learn through all the people that, the kings, let's just go through kings, like learn all the things of not to do. It's really pretty simple. And to be able to have that amount of faith will help you in your darkest hour. And I wish I had it, but I didn't. But thank goodness I was directed toward him in that time.
I remember my first realization because I did the self-help journey. I did the 12-step journey. But mine started backward. My mom became a Jehovah's Witness when I was 13. And she forced me to study with them first because I was the heathen and I needed them. And then she started listening in and became a Jehovah's Witness. Changed our entire family. She used to be the go-to for parties. She threw the biggest parties, had all the get-togethers. She was like the matriarch, keeping the family together and bringing us, like connecting us. And then that happened, and she had the biggest Christmas, and then said, "All right, I hope you enjoy all your gifts because we're about to be Jehovah's Witnesses, and no more Christmases after this, and you have your brother Gregory to thank." And I was like, "What?" And so, talk about starting on the wrong foot with God. I hated everything about God, the Bible, religion, and like I only studied because I couldn't leave, right? I'm 13.
Yeah.
I only studied to argue against it. And what I didn't realize then, right, that God was making me study with a vengeance, right? Like making me learn these principles and get them in me.
Wow.
And looking back, right, piecing the dots together, I know a lot more than I thought I did. And when you go to the self-help and the 12 steps and you see that all these things that people are writing, all these frameworks and concepts, that they all originate from the scripture.
Right.
Like, there's no new ideas under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:10, no new ideas under the sun.
Yeah. Crazy. So crazy. Mind blown, right? And I'm like 48, gonna be 49, going, dang, this would have been helpful.
Right? Man, you don't look it. I'll give you that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, and you don't look like a grandpa. Holy cow. Come on.
I just turned 40 last year, so I shouldn't be. Let's put it that way. But I mean, my daughter, she's 22, so it's not like,
wow.
It's I just started young. Yeah. I have 3 last questions for you.
Okay.
So this just popped up because I heard them in the background, and I don't know how they feel about being on camera live, but I would love for them to come on and answer this question with you.
Okay. Grayson, Nathan, Diana, I need the kids.
Okay. She can join as well, man. I would love to have your family look back on this question.
Oh, they just got, they're getting a few minutes of screen time here.
Okay.
No, they're coming.
It's going to be hard to unplug from, but I get it.
No, we just say no. That's it. Done deal.
So the question, I'm starting to ask this to everyone because I want them to look back on this at some point in their journey when they've achieved what they've set out to do. I want you to look back and see this, answering this question, like, what do you want to say or ask yourself in the future?
Come here, buddy. I got you. Hang tight. Come here. You want to say hi? This is Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
And this is Grayson.
What's up, Grayson? Oh my gosh. You guys are miracles.
Mommy and
hi, man.
There's Mommy.
Oh, this is so beautiful.
Oh yeah, he switched our dog's name from Slinky to Clifford now.
Slinky to Clifford. Is he bigger? Is that why?
I don't know.
I didn't change her name the other day.
Oh, that's awesome. I remember those years, man. Y'all are so precious.
This
Thank
is the
you.
best. I'm having the biggest blast at this age right now. Okay, go. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming on. Oh man, this is beautiful.
Okay. Good stuff.
Man,
Crazy. Good times.
I wasn't ready. So, wow, my eyes are sweating, bro.
Yeah, I feel it.
What do you want to say to yourself, your future self?
I want to say to my future self, because I know it's going to happen, right? Look at what you were able to do through God's calling. Look at the people that you helped and impacted in lives that we touched and saved. And my future self, I thank you, Brian, for listening to the calling, answering it, and moving forward with creating this, being that conduit to be God's conduit to help other people. So thank you, future Brian, past Brian, I don't know what I'm talking about here, for being the one.
Wow,
Being the one.
I feel like you're Neo talking to,
I love that.
talking to the one that woke up at the computer in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude,
I mean, somebody's got to do it.
You know, I might even venture for a reframe there. Maybe somebody gets to do it.
I get to. So great. Love that.
So I dropped a link in here for the book.
Okay.
All proceeds are going to getting G units in every hospital in Mexico.
Love that.
Hospital in Mexico, and that's just the beginning.
Yes.
Affordable access to equipment, maybe even like a rental place where, like, if someone needs it, you can fly it to them 911, right?
Man, I mean, I love it. I love it all. I'm open to it all. I just, I know that there's a way, and
Absolutely.
we'll get it. We'll figure it out. I know it.
So I want to talk to you a little bit offline, but I want to thank you for coming on. Where can they find you? I'm gonna let you answer that, and then I'm gonna drop the links in the chat for them to follow you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, if you go to my website, brianheilig.com, it's BrianHeilig.com. You can actually purchase the book if you're in the US, where Grayson and myself will sign it and I'll ship it out to you. Or you can go to Amazon. That's for the book. My social medias are on there as well, but pretty simple. It's Brian Heilig for Facebook, Brian S. Heilig on Instagram. And I'm trying to do the TikTok thing, man. But, I just told you I'm almost 49. But that's Micro Preemie Dad.
Listen, man. There are no excuses.
Platform's a platform.
Yeah. Try on your TikTok, man. Oh my gosh. Holy cow.
Which part?
The picture of. Okay, I gotta share. I gotta share this before we go, because holy cow, that is hard to look at, man. But
which picture?
Oh
yeah, so that's the one to the right a little bit. That's what 26 weeks looks like outside of the womb. He's supposed to be in the womb, right? He's growing outside of the womb. That's why they forget to breathe, because they're not supposed to be breathing air. But yeah, that is a newborn diaper.
wow. For reference, right?
For reference, yeah.
Oh my.
They don't have micro preemie diapers in Mexico, so we had to go downstairs to the farmacia and get newborn diapers, and it was like a straitjacket.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. I just dropped the link to your TikTok there.
Thank you.
I'm going to drop the link to your Instagram and your Facebook as well.
Appreciate it.
And man, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for sharing your story. Thank you for answering the call, most of all, right?
Amen.
There are a lot of people that I'm sure in times to come that will be grateful that you listened. Wow. Obedience, man. It's a whole new beast, right?
Absolutely. And thank you, Gregory. Really appreciate you and your platform and allowing me to come on, and the connection that we just made. I felt I want to continue that, and really thank you. And I hope that this message is heard and spread, and let's transform lives.
Absolutely, man. We're going to go out with this little thing, and then I'm going to stop the live stream, and we are going to talk for just a second.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.